Well, hey there, slingers. Welcome back to another Wordslinger podcast. Now, do you like golf? Now, whether you do or don't, there's a lot we can learn from golf and from those who mastered it, and that's why you're not going to want to miss this interview with Eric Cogorno. So, stick around.
It's the Wordslinger podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tumlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Well, I am Kevin Tumlinson, the Wordslinger. Welcome to another episode of the Wordslinger podcast. I am not the golf slinger. I am just not a very good golfer. I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy getting out with some clubs. It's funny because I'm a complete hack when it comes to being on a golf course. My father-in-law, his whole life is about golf right now. You know, he's retired. They bought a home here in Central Texas, north of Austin, specifically because the sort of resort style area they built in is wedged between like 6 different golf courses. And so he actually chose the home that he's likely to be in for the rest of his life based on its proximity to golf courses. He can literally just, walk outside, walk over to the course and play. So he's dedicated. Over the years, I've played with him, several others. I was actually an editor for a golf magazine for a while. So golf has played a role in my life, and I've just never been all that great at it. I have a really expensive golf bag filled with really crappy clubs. I have this thing about, I don't know, I didn't want to spend a ton of money on golf clubs if I wasn't all that serious about playing. So over the years, what I've done is just at flea markets and pawn shops and garage sales, if I come across sets of clubs that I think are quality, I look for certain brand names, and so I've built up this collection of used clubs. And my guest, if he's listening to this episode, is going to cringe at all of this, I know, but so they're not tailored to me. They're not the right size, length, whatever. They're in various states of wear and tear. And I play very badly, and maybe that's why. But here's what's interesting about golf. It's something I've observed before, maybe not on this show, but I mean, I've thought about this a lot. Like, golf carries with it a lot of lessons about life. Most sports do. I mean, most people use one sport or another as a metaphor for life and success. And golf is interesting, though, because, there can be a certain amount of like beginner's luck involved with golf. You can get off a decent shot, play a pretty good first round, something like that. And then as you start to kind of pay more attention, sometimes you get worse at it. That's what I noticed. Like when I first started playing it, it seemed like I was doing pretty all right. And then suddenly I'm trying to concentrate on my swing, and I'm trying to concentrate on my stance, and, which clubs are appropriate for this distance. I had to learn what a handicap was, things like that. And as I'm starting to kind of concentrate more on that stuff, it's like it took me out of flow, and my game got worse. So, but if you practice it, then you get better at it. And if you consult people who can guide you, teachers, you can get better at it faster. So those are good lessons to learn. Our guest today has a YouTube channel. You'll find a link in the show notes. And he's working on a book, and I think we didn't really discuss it in these terms, but I think he would agree with me on this philosophy that, if you look at life in this way, you can't help but start to notice trends, start to notice the things that you're doing, so that you can correct those things. So anyway, whether you are, I know most listeners, most viewers of this are authors. Welcome, always. You're probably asking, like, how is this going to apply to me in terms of improving your craft as a writer, improving your skill as a marketer. There are a lot of great lessons from both golf and this interview. That said, let's go ahead and jump right into this interview and stick around for the note at the end. See you there. Hey, it's Kevin Tumlinson here, and I want to talk to you about something that's made a real difference in my work over the years, and that is ProWritingAid. I've been using this for years. It's hands down the best assistive editing tool that I've found. And what I love most is that it works wherever I write. So whether I'm in Scrivener, Microsoft Word, Substack, or anywhere else, ProWritingAid is right there with me. And unlike other tools, I get control over the kind of suggestions it gives me. So there's no rigid rules. It's just smart, actionable feedback that's tailored to my writing. And the best part is that the team behind ProWritingAid actually cares about independent writers and creators. They're focused on helping individual creators like you and me, not just big enterprise customers. And that is unfortunately becoming a kind of rare thing these days. And that's why I'm proud to support them. So if you're serious about leveling up your writing wherever or however you write, go to ProWritingAid.com and use the code KEVIN20 at checkout for 20% off of your subscription. That's ProWritingAid.com, code KEVIN20. And trust me, you'll be glad you did. I am thrilled to be sitting and chatting with. You're becoming a YouTube legend, my friend, on the golf side of YouTube, which I didn't even know existed until I started kind of looking into you. But thank you for joining me on the show. This is Eric Cogorno. Rhymes with DiGiorno, I'm told. Did I get it right? Did I manage to get it right?
That's perfect. I appreciate you, Kevin.
So, how are you, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Living the dream. Very, very appreciative to be here and look forward to chatting with you today.
You've got quite a resume. I'm a very, very amateur golfer. My father-in-law is a retiree who's becoming more pro by the day. So golf is something we talk about quite a bit. I'm definitely going to want to talk to you about that side of your life, but you got so much more going on because you've got beyond just golf. You've got the whole. You're a personal development enthusiast. It says so. You work with. Do you work with people outside of golf for personal development as well?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm just getting started doing it. I've
Yeah.
I've been lucky to be doing the golf coaching thing now for which is crazy to think. Going on 16 years and we, shifted things online and did the YouTube thing. I appreciate that compliment before. And I'm sort of in an arc in my career now where we're shifting into personal development. I've had such a blast, Kevin, helping people try and golf better and would love to be able to help people live better, right, in all different categories. And I actually, because I listened to a bunch of your episodes, I actually am just getting done writing my first book.
Okay.
Uh, so the timing of this is interesting here as well. I'm just like finishing up the editing of my first. It's like a golf business book, how to build a business coaching business. And so I think, Kevin, that's like the first thing that I'm going to probably shift more into is helping people build their social medias and
Yeah.
grow their coaching or service businesses. So yeah, that'll be the next project.
Yeah. That's an interesting sort of transition to make, though, from golf to that type of business. Helping people to figure out the branding and that sort of thing. Like where's the crossover there?
Yeah, it's not like a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Yeah,
I mean, but golf is one of those sports that gets used as a metaphor for just about everything anyway.
sure.
So, I'm sure it fits.
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's crossover for sure with golf and life, but Kevin, for me, man, like golf has been a big passion my whole life, and I spent a lot of my youth playing and trying to get good at golf, and then I spent 10 to 15 years in my 20s into my 30s trying to get great at coaching golf. And along that journey, I got introduced to a guy named Jim Rohn. He
Mm,
was the mentor to Tony Robbins, for those who
yeah.
some people heard of him. And Kevin, I'm sure you've had this experience, like when you hear someone, like when I first listened to Jim Rohn, just everything he said like hit me so hard in the
Yeah.
heart. Like the way he spoke, maybe it's where I was in my life, I was ready to hear it, but he introduced me to personal development. And as much as golf has helped me and changed my life, what I learned through him and then others through personal development has really taken my life to a whole nother level. And just like I was passionate about golf and wanted to share that with others, I really want to share what I've learned with personal development next.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there is kind of it's almost the point of this podcast, which is you can whatever your field, your industry, your expertise, or whatever, like you can look at that as a framework for success. And that's the whole point for my audience. I know most of my people are authors, but I've got entrepreneurs and other creatives who tune into this show. And that's why I want to talk to people like you so that they can get a perspective outside of their little bubble, you know, and get something new that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it. And certainly from my perspective, Kevin, trying to get good at my craft, which was coaching. Like I'm sure everyone who, who's an author who's listening, you get great at your craft, maybe which is writing,
Yeah.
right? And what I started to see was, hey, how do I spread this craft that I have? How do I help as many people as possible? One of the great things about books, you write the book once, or at least publish it once, and then like but thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people can read that book. For me, the problem was when I was giving a golf lesson, it was only one person.
Yeah.
So if you like, imagine you're writing this big book and then only one person's ever going to read it. So what I thought is, how do I spread this to more people? And that's where YouTube, obviously, and social media became a nice tool of instead of me giving a one-on-one lesson, now I can kind of have my own book in the form of a YouTube video that I can get thousands or hundreds of thousands of people to be able to watch. And so, yeah, I think for people who are listening, who are authors and potentially in other areas, being able to utilize the tools we have today to get your message across to more and more people is something I'm definitely passionate about.
So where did that whole YouTube journey start for you? Like what brought you to that platform?
So back at this time, Kevin, I was like, so we're starting our ninth year on YouTube, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We're going for ninth year, man. So we posted so we're talking 2016, 17-ish. So I was watching guys like Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, jab,
Yeah.
jab, jab, right hook. And at this point, this was all like, get attention, build an audience, right? Take advantage of social media to scale. And I had that realization I just mentioned. Like I was 26, I guess, at this time, 27. I had spent my past like 7, 8 years trying to get great at coaching, studying, like really trying to get great at it.
Yeah.
But I kind of hit a wall and I was feeling really burnt out. And I remember there was a Saturday afternoon, sunny Saturday normal afternoon. I'm out on the range, and I'm not out there like digging holes or anything, but I'm outside all day with the sun on me. And I remember thinking like, gosh, I can't do this forever. Like I'm not gonna be able to do this when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old. Um, that was a big realization for me, and just the frustration of being able to like, I feel like I could only help one person at a time, and I wanted to be able to help many more. And so the short version is I kind of felt burnt out and hit a wall there. And through depending upon what you believe, a miraculous series of events,
Yeah.
uh, I felt that burnout. Sort of saw this Jim Rohn. I watched this video. It was a goal setting workshop, how to create your dream life. Totally changed my life when I went through that. I went through that, had the realization that I wanted to scale this thing bigger, and then I met my business partner, Mary, all in the same week.
Yeah.
So very good timing, and I think I felt enough pain that I was ready to, act and do something different. And YouTube was the only thing at the time, Kevin, that I saw as a tool that I could use to get out of my one-on-one coaching and then be able to spread it to more people.
What was so many people have tried, I've tried to, build a successful YouTube presence. For me, it's just I'm like God, the commitment of time to do that. I'd rather be writing the books. So maybe I'm too lazy for YouTube. I don't know, but like, what was it like, kind of embracing that? What did you have to do in order to launch that? And how did your experience as a coach help with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot there. I would assume similar if I asked you a question of like how do I get good at writing or publishing great books? There's a couple basic things you'd probably tell me,
Yeah,
and then there's like layers of detail.
yeah.
But inevitably it'd be like, hey, dude, you got to write a lot for a long period of time. I would assume that would need to be in there. And so for YouTube. obviously consistency.
Yep.
So like I enjoy writing, right? Like I wrote, I'm just getting done with this first book. I enjoy writing. I made a habit for myself where I needed to write. I made myself write every Sunday, two
Yeah.
pages with my own thoughts, 2 pages of thoughts every Sunday for like the past 7 years. So at some point in time, I want to write a book. I want to be able to learn how to do this. I gotta create the consistency of writing. YouTube was much the same way. It was like first things first, I need to post and continue posting for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So like our mantra, we started every Monday, my partner and I, Mary, with no matter what happens this week, we're going to post 3 videos. Post 3 videos. So we posted YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, going on, we did 8 years of that without missing a single post. So that, of course, has something to do with it, right? Like relentless consistency. I think at a more micro level, every set of three, let's say we did 3 videos a week, we would make it a habit to go back and look at that set of three and try and find just one thing that we could improve for the next set of three.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we say, hey, just keep doing, keep doing, keep doing. But if you keep doing and not analyzing and improving, that
Yeah.
you don't automatically get better, right? So
Right.
I'd say, hey, look at the set of videos and look at what you're doing and model success in the market. One of the
Yeah.
things I learned from Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins is not copy, but modeling success in the market. So I look at my videos and look at people in my space who are doing well and say, okay, what's the difference here?
Yeah.
Right? Is it the title, the thumbnail, the lighting, right? Is it the what the video topic is? And after a while, if you improve one thing, and this sometimes can seem overly simplistic, Kevin, but like think about that. If I improved one thing every week, that means every month there was 4 better things,
Yeah.
right? That means every year there's almost 50 better things in the videos. And so it compounds over time. And so I would say relentless consistency, improving everything per set of posts, and having a very long-term mindset, kind of like the first 100 are just practice, and then
Yeah.
expect some results later.
People hate hearing that. That first 100 is practice, or the first
Uh-huh.
million words. That's what writers hear. The first million words
Okay.
of practice, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, I love that as advice too, because it's applicable to everything, not just golf, not just writing, but I mean anything that you want to excel at. It's that sort of 1% improvement thing that you hear about a lot in personal development circles.
Yeah, totally. And that's like my experience, right? I'm writing a nonfiction how to build a business, like a coaching business book.
Yeah.
And so like I loved it. Like I love when I sit down and write and I get some music on and I feel like it's one of the only things I do where I'm in total flow. Like I can just get
Hmm.
in total flow with it. Now this is something for me. I've been living for a decade that I'm trying to turn into a book. So I've got lots of, years of things. Writer's block is not something that I, would run into with that.
Yeah.
Like then I write that first thing and then like, man, I'm going back and I'm like, all right, I gotta, okay, this part's got to go out. I've got to adjust this. So like the work after I would initially write it for me, I would attune sort of likened to like YouTube videos where I just got to go back and keep improving.
Yeah.
But it's like every video you got to publish. I would assume a book, a lot more time to create one thing. A video, let's say, where like I'm creating 12 videos a month. So it's
Mhm.
more of a frequency game. I'm not trying to perfect it, but I just want to make sure the next set is better than the previous. And the nice thing with this, Kevin, is there's always a model to follow. There's an example set by someone in our industry who's succeeding.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, how do I close the gap between what I'm doing and what they're doing slowly but surely? And you should get, better results than you currently are.
Yeah. That's a good strategy. Looking, I use the whole mind. I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, and
Cool.
there's an entire club there that I think guys like you and me pay a lot of attention to. I quote Jim Rohn's, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Like I quote him on that like all the time. People are
Hmm.
kind of sick of hearing it from me, and actually that's led to some interesting things in my life because currently I'm co-authoring a book with JD Barker, and the first time I ever met that guy was at a conference, and I had just kind of written something, explored that whole 5 people thing, and I when I met him I said, look, I'm looking to upgrade my 5, and I think
Mm.
he thought I was nuts. But now we're buds and we're co-authoring together. So I love this whole approach. Now, so in terms of, the practical golf side of things, what are lessons that you can take from that sport and from your coaching in that sport and apply? And let's zero in on writing a book. You've already talked about coming back to it consistently, consistent practice and good practice, right? What are some things that maybe incoming writers, people who are new to this, or maybe even people who've been writing for a while, what are some things that they might learn from your approach?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, one of the things I think right away of how golf is and my journey and with writing, yeah, the first word that came to mind, Kevin, when you said that was patience.
Hmm.
Golf requires an incredible amount of patience. And so I think that's,
That would explain why I'm no good at
yeah, hey, it is easier said than done, but patience with yourself, I think is a big one. I would say prioritizing progress over perfection would be a
it.
second one.
Yeah.
Like, I love the million word thing you said. I've never heard that before. So, like, steps in the right direction, right, are better than no steps at all. Even hell, steps in a direction, I should say, are
Yeah.
probably better than no steps at all. I found in my life, I have not done so many things because I wasn't clear on what I was trying to do. Um, One of the books that I read that I'm reading recently that I just read is called Switch by Chip
Yeah.
Heath and Dan Heath.
Yeah.
A couple of psychologists in there, and they talk about that we often mistake a lack of motivation for a lack of clarity.
Mm.
And I think that holds us back from acting and doing things and writing the words or putting the practice in or doing the work is getting clarity on what we're trying to accomplish and allowing that clarity of the destination to pull us through the difficult times along the way.
Mm.
I have not been shy, Kevin, about quitting a lot of things in my life or not doing things that I wanted to do when I was younger. And I can always look back and say, was I clear with the destination I was trying to do? I want to get XYZ book. What kind of book written by what date? Like, what are the non-negotiables of my thing? My
Yeah.
non-negotiables were 3 videos every week.
Mm.
Not three perfect videos,
Right.
not three killer videos, 3 videos every week. So I think the progress over perfection thing is big. The patience thing is big. And then like all these things, like you can't write the 100th word until you've written the 99th word. You
Mm.
can't do the 100th video until you've done the 99th one. To do the 99th, you got to do the 98th. And so the time of putting it in, and then I'm a big, last point, Kevin, on this is I'm a big like I'm not a guy. I've got friends, speaking of the five, I've surrounded myself with people who are much farther along in everything than me, been a total game changer. A
Yeah.
lot of my people, they work like crazy. Like they are work horses. I'm not a guy who could do a million things in one day, but I'm pretty good at doing one thing a million days in a row. And so I
Yeah.
think just like the consistency of like, what's the smallest action I could take day after day, week after week that would compound over time. So I think lowering the bar of the daily to-dos, but something you can actually accomplish, progress over perfection and patience, I think would be three good ones there.
I think, yeah, that is all excellent, and very applicable to creatives and writers, and it's similar because like I have this thing that I kind of preach to especially writers, but like, the idea of it's actually comes back to the process of like don't edit while you write, wait until you've written,
Mm.
right? And the idea and what I tell people is like if you were a sculptor, you would need a block of marble in order to carve David. So you can't start the statue without that marble, and that first draft is the statue. The first draft is the marble, basically. So I think it's kind of along the same lines. Like you got to build to get to that 100th episode. You got to do the 99 in front of it. I love that as a concept. Uh, what's the So as you know, you've got Jim Rohn, you've got Tony Robbins. Like, who are some of your other inspirations here? It sounds like you've probably got a list.
Yeah, yeah. You and me both. So like early in the days, Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk, I think were instrumental for me to have someone to look up to and kind of guide my path of action.
Yeah.
Those two guys, I think, helped me just like do the thing, like put one foot in front of the other, do the thing. From there, Jim Rohn totally changed my life. Like it literally makes me emotional even just thinking about
Mhm.
the effect that he's had. I really look up to him and his clarity of communication. He packs such a big punch in every word he says.
Yeah.
There's no filler, and it's all so meaningful. From him, I found John Maxwell, who I
Yeah.
thought was a very similar thing, just an unbelievable communicator. So I've been a coach, Kevin, and then I do video. So communication for me was one of the big things that I've really looked for and try and model some of those guys. So John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, I think would be the two big ones for me, philosophy wise, communication wise. And then the early Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk, amongst many others, but those would be like at the top of the list.
Yeah. What are some challenges you're finding as you're writing the book? You said you're not dealing with writer's block. That's good. But
Yeah.
what are some
So
of the other challenges you're having?
this is a great question. I think I have to think more on it. Initially, like so I've been doing that, write the 2 pages every Sunday for 7 years, right? So I
Yeah.
have a habit of writing like a little bit at a time. I have this idea of like, I'm like, I'm gonna write this kind of 100 to 120 page, very digestible, how to build a coaching or service-based business book. And when I sat down to write it, I mean, it flew out of me, Kevin.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about this stuff and living it for so long, right? But it flew out of me. I feel like when I'm sitting down and I put the music on, I can get into a flow. I feel incredible. It's some of the best feelings that I have. I think what I don't love, I shouldn't say I think, what I don't love, and this is the same thing when we produce videos, I like producing the thing and then I want to be done with it.
Yeah.
Here's the video, and then I don't even want to see it, hear it, whatever. Like I want
Right.
nothing to do with it. And so for me to go back and reread, edit, adjust, tweak, and I'm sure I'm not the only one like that, that has been very difficult for me.
Yeah.
This is my first time doing it, so I'm sure I'm naive in how to do things. We're figuring it out, myself and my partner Mary. But I really enjoy the writing, and I think at the core of it, because I love to sit down, put the headphones on, and just like really dial it in. That's been great. I'm very interested to see when I do book number two, if that process is the same, or if that changes a little bit. Book number two is going to be something more personal development based. So yeah, I think the struggle for me is once the product's started, having to like do the back end work.
Yeah. Yeah. So was there at any point like a defining moment where things broke open for you in terms of success?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so that Jim Rohn video that I watched when I had those, I felt burnt out.
Yeah.
I met Mary. I watched that Jim Rohn video. It was called The Day That Turns Your Life Around. It's a 2 hour video. I watched that, Kevin, still 2 or 3 times a week, like every week for the seven
Yeah.
years. I
Yeah.
still love it. And then right next to that in the recommended was a goal setting workshop. It's like a 3 or 4 part goal setting workshop on YouTube. Now, at this point, Kevin, I was 27. I had went to school. I went to college. I did well in school. I never set goals before. I never had someone tell me to do it. I never did it. I just never did it.
Yeah.
And so when I was 26, 27, for whatever reason, I sat down with a legal pad and I went through this Jim Rohn goal setting workshop. For those listening, you can Google that. And I wrote down what he said. And it was the first time in my life, man, that I allowed myself, the exercise was to think about your dream life that could
Yeah.
could possibly be in the future. It was the first time in my life that I let my brain consider a possibility for my life that was beyond what was right in front of me.
Yeah.
I could always be like, hey, I did this before. I want to just get like a little bit better and a little bit better. And there's value in that. But there's also value in the other extreme, which is like, what if blank? Like,
Yeah.
gosh, what if like I could this, and this, and this? And I never let myself think about that. And what Jim did for me in that exercise was allowed me the freedom to be able to think like that. And Kevin, from that list of me thinking about my dream life came, well, the only way to do this is to have a bigger audience. The only way to do
Hmm.
that is YouTube, right? The only
Yeah.
way to do this is XYZ. So for me, I always come back to like I got really clear on the destination and where I wanted to go. Not by doing it once. I did it 8 times. I visualize it every single day. Like I spent a lot of time on it. But I was so clear on where I want to go that like I figure out the path, along the way. But the clarity of the destination like dictated the actions there.
Yeah.
So a real dumbed down example for my simple brain is like if I say, hey, I want to write 1,000-page book, that dictates how many pages I have to write by when. If I want to write 1,000-page book and publish it by this date, that further clarifies it. So I think a lot of times, we talk about enjoy the journey, right? And enjoy the process and journey. But if there's not a clear destination for us, there ain't no journey in the first place.
Yeah.
Where the journey sometimes is not that good. And so I would urge people that are listening to go watch that video, do the exercise, and allow the clarity of what your dream future could look like dictate, the actions that you do daily, weekly, monthly to get there.
Ha- Has all this, like, what new habits and strategies have kind of evolved out of this as you've gone then? Like, because it sounds to me, because this is how I approach it, so I may be biased in my thinking here, but it's every week I sit down with a notebook where I'm jotting down my strategies and plans, right? And I kind of adhere to the Eisenhower quote that planning is essential, but plans are useless. So I throw out the plan every week and come up with a different strategy based on, what I'm encountering, but I'm always moving toward that same goal. Are there things like that that, are happening for you, that are changing for you as you move along? How's your strategy
Oh,
changed?
yeah, we could talk for hours about this one question.
Yeah.
And I think I found the same thing, man, which is like the strategies, the tactics change, but like the big goal, the big vision doesn't.
Hmm.
That's in concrete, how we
Yep.
might get there change all the time. So I like that. And I don't have all the answers to this stuff, Kevin. Like this is just things that have worked for me and what I'm
Right.
experiencing along the way. But I've had so many habits change for me. And I think the beginning of that when I listened to Jim Rohn, he talked about personal development. Now,
Yeah.
I never heard the word before. I didn't even know what that
Hmm.
meant. And he used to say, I remember the first time I heard him say this, I was like, what in the hell is this guy talking about? He would say you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck does that mean? I had spent a decade working hard on my job, getting great at coaching, but I didn't spend any time on myself. And so when I started to think about that and look like how could I improve myself, I spent a couple months really researching and looking at people who I looked up to, who I thought were, living how I wanted to live, who were successful, happy, healthy, etc. And I just thought, hey, what do they do? Like, what are the
Yeah.
common traits of these people who are successful? And it didn't take long to find that they had some similar daily, weekly, monthly habits. And so I started to implement a lot of those basic things that compound, like, hey, I'm going to work out every day,
Hmm.
right? I was looking for things that like 80% of people did of those
Yeah.
successful people. Like I work out every day for 30 minutes. I meditate every day for 20 minutes. I read 20 pages every day, right? I do like, there's certain things that I have on a list that are daily non-negotiables that I feel like, hey, if I do these things, I've won the day. That to me is the personal development part. That's like the just me making myself, better. There's probably 1,000 things, Kevin, from when we started YouTube 2016 to where we are in 2025 in terms of like business stuff, tactics and things along those lines that have changed.
Yeah.
But the core habits and things have not changed, and they were all based around this modeling concept. Who's doing, living, being how I want to, and what are the things they do that I could model in my own way to move me in that direction. Every category of my life I'd look at, every
Hmm.
one of them has improved 10x with that same sort of philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does success, you know, look to you today? Like, how would you define success today versus how when you started?
Mm.
How's your view changed?
Yeah, that's a cool one. So a lot of I like business,
Hmm.
right? So like a lot of this has been monetary things, like hey, I hit X,
Yeah.
Y, Z money things, and that has served me well. I think having a good financial goal dictates the actions needed to take to get there, whether I want to do them or not. it puts a reality check on, hey, this is what needs to get done. Are we willing to do that or not?
Yeah.
So that has been really good. I think I've devalued a little bit of this like goal or number that I set and the need to hit it by a certain time.
Hmm.
I realized along the way as we go that like I can now control the things that I thought those goals would get me. Like I've been dreaming about a car, a vehicle that I've wanted forever, that I recently got about 2 months ago. And I feel really good about the fact that I thought something and then created it, but I don't really care about the car. I'm not a
Yeah.
car guy. I don't really
Yeah.
care about the car. It's not about the car. It's about doing the thing. And so for me, that's what I've realized is it's not really about the thing, whether I have this amount of money or this amount. It's like, was I able to create something in my mind and then do what was required to get it? And that juices me up. Like that to me is the most confidence building, best feeling in the world when you set an intention and then actually be able to accomplish it. And so that's what I've realized, Kevin, to where the what I put on I'm a big goal guy, right? So I've got these lists of goals. What's on there is not as important as is it stretching me or moving me in a direction, in the direction that I want to be able to go.
Yeah.
And realizing that like a lot of the things I want to get from that, like why do we want a best-selling book or why do we want $10 million or whatever? It's really to create a feeling we're looking for. I
Hmm.
want to feel good or feel confident or feel proud or feel loved or whatever. And so I've realized that in the journey where it's what am I looking to get out of this thing, and why can't I have that now? And so for me, like if I want to feel good, confident, etc., I feel good about myself when I do what I say I'm going to do,
Hmm.
right? Like if I keep a promise to myself or a habit, whatever. I feel really shitty about myself, excuse my language, if I make a promise and I don't keep it.
Yeah.
If I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, and
Yeah.
those various things. So those are little things. So I set daily goals and habits in accordance with that. Things that I know I can follow through on that move me in a certain direction. It's just served me so well, man. Like it served me really, really well doing that.
Yeah. It sounds like it. Yeah. All right. Well, look, we're starting to run out of time. But I'm excited to hear you got a book coming out. I'm always excited that people are writing a book. Any idea when that's going to hit?
Yeah, hopefully end of February or end of February, early March. So we're like
Oh yeah, you're right up
coming
on
up.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
How,
same for me, which is like, hey, this is book one. I know I got to do book one to get to book two, to book three, book four. So
yeah.
it's getting
Yeah.
started.
You got a title already?
A working title like seven
Okay.
figure coaching blueprint is
Yeah.
something along the lines of what we're looking at. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, look, when it's ready, let me know. I'll talk about it a little. And we'll
Thanks.
share some links, that sort of thing.
Appreciate it.
But until and maybe by the time this will probably go out before your book comes out. But that's okay. We'll work something out for you. Where can people find you online? I know that you've got your YouTube channel people are going to want to check out, but where
Yeah,
can
yeah.
people
Thanks,
find you?
Kevin. Yeah, so Eric Cogorno Golf is the YouTube, the golf stuff. I would say that's a good place to go if you do social media and you want to see the real life tactics we use. How do we
Yeah.
title? How do we thumbnail? How do we intro? That's the keeping me honest stuff. And then we
Yeah.
have lessons I've learned with Eric Cogorno. That's a new personal development channel we started, which is more about like the conversations we had today.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that one yet. All right, I'm going to find that one. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, sharing your journey here, man. I love seeing it, and I wish you great success on the book. I can't wait to see what comes of that. So, thanks for being a
Thanks,
part
man.
of the show.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, everybody else, thank you for tuning in. You're a part of the show too. Without you, I mean, it's just two guys chatting over Zoom. So what's the point of that? But if you want even more, you're going to want to stick around for the note at the end. So don't miss that. And we'll see you on the other side. You know, I've always believed life's too short for boring stories. So I write the kind of books I'd want to read. Action-packed, fast-paced fiction. Adventure stories with characters you'll wish you could hang out with. And twists you'll never see coming. From ancient mysteries to modern-day thrills, my books take you on a wild ride. And trust me, I've got plenty of rides to choose from. So if you're ready to escape into a world of danger, discovery, and intrigue, it's here waiting. Find your adventure at kevintumlinson.com/books. Not responsible for sleepless nights. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. It's made me kind of want to go dust off my clubs, get out, back out on the links. It's a good time to spend with family, by the way. It seems like every year my father-in-law and his brother and a bunch of people show up, or we go somewhere and we end up doing at least one round of golf. It's a little exhausting, honestly. I never really thought of golf as being an exhausting sport, but maybe because I'm having to, trounce around out in the rough all the time. I always tell people, you admire, Tiger Woods and these pro golfers, but, make them play from where I have to play from and see how great they do. Anyway, so, it's been an interesting week since the last episode. There's a lot happening. We had sort of an incident happen with our insurance. We're still trying to figure out. They canceled our medical insurance for some reason. When we started looking into it, all we get is frustration. Here's what I'm noticing about this sort of thing. There's a lot of this happening right now, and I don't know if it's because of political upheaval. I don't know what's happening in the world, but there's these moments that kind of keep popping up where you're dependent on something or you need help with something, and then the source almost feels like it's literally designed to frustrate you in every possible way. And I'm something of a conspiracy theorist, I'll admit. I do think that some of these, insurance in particular, I think is wired to frustrate you as much as possible. And I noticed in conversation with one of the guys on the phone, he was very, he kept looping back around to this same sort of statement where, they claim they sent this letter that we never got. And my wife, Kara, keeps every single communication when it comes to this stuff. She's got everything all the way back to the beginning with handwritten notes. I mean, she's very organized. So there's no way that we missed this letter. So it did not get sent, I promise you. But regardless, we didn't have it. And it was informing us that our policy was about to be canceled because of misinformation on the application. They won't tell us what the misinformation is. They claim it's all in that letter. And he just kept looping back to that. He says, well, that's why that letter, that's why we told you in the letter. That's what the letter was for. The letter explained that. And, finally I said, look, I need you to understand, if you mention that letter one more time, man, that letter doesn't exist. I don't care if you sent it or not. It doesn't exist. We don't have it. We didn't get a letter. So, constantly referring us back to it is not going to solve the problem. I realized, though, in that conversation that they're trained to do this, to say this in this way, to read this script in this way, specifically to get me to react in a way that will allow them to hang up on me or to do, take some other action. It's manipulation. So I started to see this in all kinds of interactions, not just with insurance, although insurance is kind of the biggest. So where I want to go with this is this, I don't like that kind of thing. Who does? But I've come to this conclusion that there is an element out there that is designed, specifically designed to manipulate you in this way, cause you to get angry, cause you to react in some negative way, so that they have the ammunition they need to do what they want to do. Which is, look, I have friends who work for the insurance industry. I've talked to people in that industry. They literally do have policies that are all centered on, trying to get you to trying to just deny everything, deny coverage, make you fight for it. They want to make you fight for it as much as possible because they know that most people, and I'm going to say like 99% of people, aren't going to have it in them to do that fight. I think it's reprehensible. I think it's evil. The whole insurance industry is evil. You'll never convince me otherwise, man. But this isn't a show. I don't want this to be about, the insurance industry conspiracies. I'm really just using this as an example to point out how this happens all the time. There are people out there who specifically create things in such a way that it's meant to manipulate you. So what's the answer there? What do we do about that? First, awareness is important. If we can be aware of it, then it allows us to have the option of choosing how we respond rather than simply reacting. And that's key. If we can control our response and only respond in a controlled, disciplined measure, it's going to give us greater power. Will it give you the power to overcome the bureaucracy that is weighing you down? Maybe not immediately, but it can happen gradually if you can remain determined, which is not easy, man. I know. In the face of they're about to cancel your insurance, here's a medical bill that you can't afford. Here's, a tax law that's going to cost you more out of pocket. These things, they feel immediate, and they are sometimes immediate, but, change, when it comes to opposing a power greater than you, it takes time. But the key here, though, is like the real power is over yourself. You may be in a powerless situation, but you are not powerless. You are, you have control of only one thing in this world, and that's you and your response to things. The response may be limited to just how you frame it in your mind, how you think about it, but that's a victory. These are difficult concepts to talk about, to describe, because one thing I've noticed, like I'll post something on, let's say, Facebook, and it's a philosophy, and I know that it's a tried, tested philosophy, and there are just some people I've noticed who are determined that they are not going to accept it, and they're going to skew negative. The one that was most recent, I posted most recently, that Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." And so this goes back to this entire idea, which is your response to the things that happen in your life. What you resist persists is comes from a sort of philosophical, psychological framework that whatever you dwell on in a negative way, I just can't. I can't survive this. I can't, pay my taxes. I can't pay my medical bills. I can't, you build that up, build it, and it becomes a weight on you. The one right now is people are concerned with fascism. They think there's a fascist dictator in office, and they're doing fascist things. They're doing, they're destroying everything. You start to build that image up over. And to you, it is absolutely true. And the more you reinforce it in your mind, the more true it is. But what it does is it clouds your ability to see any path out. So the only path you allow yourself to see is that person must be removed from office. This thing must change. This disease has to go away. This money has to come in. This, whatever it's usually some extreme that you have no control over. And because you have no control over it and you're focused on it and obsessed on it, it makes you feel powerless and you feel like a victim. So the only answer to this it's been explored. If you read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, he explored this. He was in several different Nazi-run internment camps. Faced death multiple times, starvation, suffered. He was a Holocaust survivor, and through that experience, what he realized was he has no control over anything about his life, no autonomy whatsoever. He doesn't get to decide what he eats, when he eats, if he eats. He doesn't decide when he sleeps, what work he does or doesn't do, even whether he lives or dies. He has no say or control in any of that. But the one thing he does have control over is how he frames it in his mind, what the meaning of the experience is. And because he has that power, he's undefeatable. We have that power in every aspect, every situation of our lives. And in this current, scenario, let's look back at this post. I tried to post something meaningful and hopeful for people. And most people saw it. I posted that, if you stop trying to be a part of the quote resistance and start being a part of the persistence. We want to persist in doing the right thing, focusing on doing good, focusing on helping, rather than focusing on how terrible and awful and evil everything is. All we're doing is lending power to that when we focus on that. I had a handful of people get angry over that and, basically say, no, thanks. I'm going to stay focused on, because I don't want Nazis in office and I don't want tyranny and I don't want. So they're resisting. And so in their mind, that evil persists. So, should we stand by and just let evil people do evil things in the world? We should not. The point of this is not to turn your head and ignore it, which is what I was being accused of. The point of it is to see good and do it, to do the right thing and insist on doing the right thing as an action, not to resist what we don't want, but to persist in what we do want. And the more we do that, the greater the momentum of that. And that's what we should be focused on. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you. But I will say that you get nowhere with the mentality that everything is bad, everything is evil, I'm a victim, we're all victims, we're all going to die. You get nowhere with that. But the only way forward, the only way to accomplish anything is to decide to act rather than react. To decide to do something. At least people who go, I have my gripes about the way people choose to protest sometimes, but actually, I just don't see 99% of protests are pointless. I just don't see, you're not changing anything. You're not advancing your cause. I actually think, I remember hearing that Mother Teresa said, I will never attend an anti-war rally, but if you have a rally for peace, I'll be there. I'm paraphrasing, but the perspective there is going out against something, just going out and saying, I don't want this thing, I'm anti this. It all it does is bring more energy to that thing. It calls more attention to it. It causes people to, so those of us who are, part of the oppositional defiant disorder perspective or spectrum, perhaps, like me, we hear these adamant things, and because a lot of times these protesters will say and do things that I don't agree with, what it makes me do is want to automatically oppose them. And so I start thinking of reasons why they're wrong and I'm right, etc. So, if that happens within me, it happens within a lot of people. But if you come out, rather than a protest against all this stuff, if it's if you're marching for something, then you are giving me a cause to support rather than something that I feel I have to oppose. Because if you are against, let's look at the, what's it called? Just Stop Oil, something like that. These protesters who go and throw, orange paint on priceless works of art or on people's airplanes, or they glue their hands to the ground. Like, they're accomplishing literally nothing. Not even the attention that they think their cause needs. Because all it does is piss everybody off and makes us decide that you're a lunatic. And so there's nothing you can say that's going to sway me one way or the other. Just Stop Oil, I think is the name of it. It's because of those antics, it makes me think your entire cause is aligned with lunatics, crazy people. And so I'm not going to support it because I'm not a lunatic or crazy. And even though I agree with some of the premise here that there are alternatives to the way that we use fossil fuels, there are ways to do this, to solve the problem. I can't agree with your methods, and so we're automatically at odds, right? And that's resistance thinking. But if you spent that energy and that time and the money behind it, and instead used that to create something, the Just Stop Oil organization has created this new technology. We've partnered with these people to create a new energy efficient, battery that doesn't require elements that, the mining of which destroy the earth. Find solutions rather than just pointing at problems, and you are going to win over a lot more people and gain a lot more momentum. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, if you can see it. I mean, there's examples of this out there, and sometimes those examples turn that person or that company or whatever into a target. For some reason, people just really have to hold on to their fear, and if you're offering hope, if you're offering something opposite of fear, those people get threatened. And that's ego. When you are threatening the thing that someone identifies with, they feel it like death. And so ego death is a scary thing. It makes you feel like you're losing your identity, losing who you are. We are in an era where identity is just it. Everyone's so locked in. I'm the same way. I'm going to just throw that out there. Like I'm constantly, I had a conversation with Kara yesterday. Cause I walked in, I'm wearing like a hoodie and cargo shorts, and I'm wearing, my Chuck Taylors, and I've got my leather computer bag, my laptop bag, satchel, whatever you want to call it, strapped across my chest and everything. And I'm standing there with my hands in my pockets, and I'm about to leave. I'm going to go find a place to do some writing for the day. And I paused and I said, this is one of those days where I feel like I'm the most Kevin that I can be. Like this, I feel very me right now. And so that prompted a conversation about wardrobe choices, when to wear certain things, because I like to wear, a nice sports coat and that sort of thing too. But those, there's just times where being Kevin means different things. And it got me thinking about my perception of my identity. And, I have the whole thing where I'm the writer _ or I'm the wordslinger, or I'm the voice of publishing. These things are part of an identity that I've crafted for myself. If any of those go away, I feel it like a loss. One of the reasons the Wordslinger podcast is still here is because I don't want to let go of that part of my identity, even though I could probably use this time for something else. And so, you take on this load, and, you take on your job, you take on your role with maybe your church or a volunteer organization or whatever, and it all becomes part of an identity. And then when you lose that, you feel like there's less of you. And the truth of it is, there's exactly as much of you as there ever was. We are not our identity. We're something beyond that. And so the causes we identify with and support, we need to be careful not to let those become part of our ego. Because what happens is when something comes along that maybe opposes that, and even if it's making a good point, we get not just offended, we get outraged, and it causes division. So gotta be careful about that stuff. Anyway, I don't know, maybe I've rambled here, I'm not sure. Just these were things that they've been on my mind. The insurance thing kind of kicked it off. I get really irate about insurance, but maybe I just need to just let it go. Things happen. There's a solution out there. Why don't I stop feeling outraged by these people and trying to fight them on what they've done and done wrong, and instead go take my money elsewhere? If they don't want my monthly premium, then someone else will, and there will be a better option out there than these people. Because even if this insurance company was offering something that I can't get through any other insurance company, even if it's a good rate or whatever, because of the way they've operated, it means that none of that mattered. None of that stuff matters. That's the key here, right? It doesn't matter that the skin that they wear is attractive. It doesn't matter that they've got nice bullet lists of features and benefits that I want. It doesn't matter that the fruit looks good. It only matters that the fruit is good, that the fruit tastes good, that it's healthy, that that it's abundant. That's the stuff that matters. It doesn't matter what it looked like. So this company, this insurance company that is effectively screwing us over, I could spend my time and energy getting mad and fighting them, or I can take my money and I can go find a solution. And even if that solution doesn't look as good on the surface, it'll be better, because whoever I find, whatever choices I make, whatever decision I make, is not going to be actively trying to screw me. You see what I mean by this? Does this make sense? To me it makes sense, but sometimes I fumble things, and I'm not explaining it in quite the way I would like. So you let me know, and you can do that if you go. First of all, if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video and tell me what you think. If you're elsewhere, listening to this on a podcast platform or something, I know it's not always easy to leave comments and stuff there, but if you go to kevintumlinson.com and you can, or wordslingerpodcast.com will take you to the Wordslinger podcast page. Either of those will get you to a place where you can leave me a comment. On my personal website, there's a contact page. You can send me an email. At wordslingerpodcast.com, it goes to the Substack page that hosts this show, and you can leave me a comment there and feedback there as well. Speaking of, go check out Substack, go check out kevintumlinson.substack.com. That's really where all the magic happens. This show is hosted there. I've got links to the Writers Inc. podcast there. It's kind of funny. I'm sending people there more than my own website now. And I have links to my site on that page as well. But if you go there and follow me there, subscribe to my Substack, I do some, every week I write and post kind of an essay style thing on that site. But that's where I'm interacting with people the most. I'm starting to veer away from all other forms of social media and put all my energy and time into Substack. And I'm noticing that a lot of people are joining, coming in. It's growing. A lot of celebrities have started using it. So it's a great platform. I love it. Big supporter of it. But anyway, I digress. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you do all that liking and sharing and subscribing. Make a choice. to support what you believe is right in all the ways you can. Use your energy for that rather than constantly trying to oppose what you think is wrong. It's good to stop bad things from happening. Don't ever think otherwise. But you don't have to spend your life constantly fighting against what you don't want. Instead, focus on what you do want. Focus on how you can bless others, help others. And your life, but also the lives of everyone else, will get just profoundly better. So, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.